So our next guest, our next speaker is her Cranford.
So, like Derek said, my name's Cranford. I appreciate him inviting me here. I think part of what I'm going to talk about is the need, as the speaker before me said, to be intentional. And to me, part of that is being engaged. So it's important to me to show up when asked. And I think that's something that is not a heavy lift for any of us, right? So the fact that you're here speaks to the fact that you're engaged and being intentional, as was referenced. So I appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate Derek inviting me. It's not lost on me that it appears I'm the only speaker who is not a preacher. So forgive me if you are not wowed by my charisma or my words here. I did go to Georgia, as he said, and I was a religion major there, so maybe I went a couple steps in that direction. But decided law school was the route that I wanted to go, and in part, honestly, because I viewed my path as kind of being a more academic, scholarly route, or trying to engage in the world where bad things are happening and people are suffering. And I unfortunately see that a lot with my job. And suffering does not discriminate, right? Bullets do not discriminate. And that kind of guided me in thinking about what I was going to say today. But I appreciate Derek referencing kind of how we met in Carroll County when I first became DA in 2018. And I'll give you a little bit about my background as I'm talking to you. There was some officer-involved interaction with members of that community that the community was concerned about. And they naturally went to their pastors to try to address this. And that led to law enforcement and a small group of pastors meeting monthly. And that's led to 3 or 4 years of those meetings and the building of relationships and the building of trust, regardless of racial lines. So when I became DA, that was something that I thought would be valuable to this community. And we started it last year, and then COVID kind of stopped us. We started doing Zoom meetings. That's how I and Derek met. And all I can say is, as the DA, it would have been easy for him to kind of be suspicious of me or discounting how genuine maybe I was being or not being. And all I can tell you is, as I think he just conveyed, I felt that, he cared what I thought, and he trusted my heart, as he kind of references, speak from the heart. And I think that's a really important thing is in building our relations, race relations, whatever it is we've got to start from a place of not being suspicious of each other's motivations and knowing we have different perspectives, and we might not see eye to eye in every instance, but if we can meet, and again, that's what I want to point out, it's an easy lift to show up, it seems to me. When you can meet and get to know somebody, that's kind of a necessary element in my view to have maybe some more difficult conversations. I've been very lucky in my life. I was born and raised in Newton, Georgia. My family's been here a long time. I'm a third generation prosecutor, so my father was the solicitor in Coweta County. His father, my granddad, was the solicitor in Coweta County. So, it's not lost on me that I had a lot of advantages that other people didn't coming up. I think that exposure to the law and the impact ultimately to law school. Like I said, understanding that I can have actual impact on people was a real motivating factor to me. So I went to Mercer Law School, started interning in the DA's office in Cranford County, and my predecessor, Pete Scandalakis, hired me out of law school. Spent a little time in our Carroll office before he brought me back to Coweta. And then after he was elected in 2016, he took a statewide job that required Governor Deal to appoint his replacement. So I and 3 or 4 other people applied for that appointment, and he ultimately selected me, and I've been lucky enough to be unopposed in my first 2 elections. So that's kind of how I ended up in elected office. A lot of people, don't know a lot about the DA's office or what the county judicial circuit is. I often tell people, if anything, that probably speaks well of you that you don't know much about my office and what we do. But so I want to give you a little background on that, just for context. So it's a 5-county judicial circuit. There's 49 judicial circuits in the state of Georgia. So every judicial circuit has 1 DA. Each judicial circuit can have as many judges as it needs to do business, but each one has 1 DA. So there's 49 DAs in the state of Georgia. Of those 49 circuits, the Coweta circuit, that's Coweta, Carroll, Troup, Meriwether, and Heard County. Of the 49 circuits, our circuit has the number 4 felony caseload. It has the number 6 population. The top 5 felony caseloads in the state of Georgia are Fulton County, Cobb County, Gwinnett County, our circuit, and then DeKalb County. So we have more overall felonies than, most other circuits in the state of Georgia. That's not a great place to be. That's just a reality. And I say that, one, just to be informational to you, so you know a little something about, the circuit that many of you probably live in, but also to give you a frame of reference to my perspective. I'm seeing a lot of tough stuff on a daily basis. I'm seeing a lot of families suffering. That's families of victims, obviously suffering because a wrong has been done to them. But I see just as many families of accused people, of defendants, suffering. That their loved one has, for whatever reason, chosen to do something that violates the law. That requires, in my view, some measure of accountability for it. And those choices have consequences, not just for victims, but for everybody that loves them. So, in thinking about what I could say today about, Derek asked me to talk about, why should we unite, and what does uniting look like? There's a lot of reasons we should unite. That's, it's kind of like an elemental thing. I think everyone would agree with that. In my job, the perspective that I see on a day-to-day basis, one really good reason to unite is there's a lot of suffering in our community that can be stopped, that can be prevented. Specifically, suffering that results from violence. And again, that doesn't discriminate. That hurts a lot of different people. And it's my job to try to get justice for those wrongs done. And to me, justice it's on a spectrum. It could be anything from getting somebody into rehab, getting them help, to incarcerating somebody who's proven they're willing to take somebody's life. And it's important that my office, and leading my office, that we're dispensing justice without regard to anybody's race, their religion, what part of town they live in, who their mom and dad is. So part of uniting to me is, one, being intentional, as was said, getting engaged, and that's why I'm thankful to have the job I have. I feel like I'm very engaged in the things that matter in this community. But two is, once engaged, do it in good faith. Don't let your motivations be, that this person doesn't live in your neighborhood, or you don't know them. Come to the table as Derek did with me, and I appreciate it, without being suspicious of the other person you're talking to. And so when I became DA, I liked philosophy and religion and things like that. I put a lot of thought into what our mission statement would be. I wanted to read it to you, just to give you an idea of what motivates me and motivates our office. The mission of the Coweta Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office is to pursue justice on behalf of the community and victims of crime, to uphold the law and to maintain the trust of the people we serve. This office will accomplish this mission by being motivated to do what is right in each case, by being fair, respectful, and honest to all people with whom we interact, and by executing our duties with humility. If we live out that mission, I think on a day-to-day, case-by-case basis, we can have a positive impact on building bridges in our community and reconciling some of the issues that exist in our communities between people for a lot of different reasons. Some of them racial, plenty of them not. But I recognize that is still a lingering issue. And when we see violence, a lot of times I detect some hesitancy in the people that are victims of violence wanting to interact with my office. Almost like, they're not trusting that we're going to try to do right by them. And so I think it's important for me to read my mission statement to you, to say unequivocally, we're here to work for everybody in this community. The last 3 years, I looked it up, Derek likes numbers, I remember hearing that. In 2017, there were 28 shootings in this community. In 2018, there were 27. In 2019, there were 38. In 2020, we had 42 shootings. That does not mean somebody was hit by a bullet necessarily. That doesn't mean somebody died, but it means somebody could have. And in so many of those cases, we know that the people who were targeted basically knew who did it, or that people around probably knew who did it or knew something, but we're still detecting hesitancy in talking to us about it. And I think I get part of that hesitancy because maybe in the past, whether it's this DA's office or some other office or, or just a general idea that we're not fighting for everybody in this community. And I just want everybody here to know we want justice for everybody, regardless of who you are, regardless of where you live, what you look like. And I think that's something that everybody should be able to unite around, that everybody deserves justice. I think we can all agree the number of shootings needs to go down. Violence needs to stop. Because again, it affects everybody, regardless of race, color, religion, creed, etc. So that's what I wanted to say to you all today, that we should unite in wanting justice for everybody in this community. That's the focus of my job. And I think to do that, we need to be engaged. We need to be willing to not be suspicious of people when we first interact with them. And we need to be willing to work together to get justice, to ease and prevent some of the suffering that's going on in this community. So I appreciate Derek having me. I appreciate all of you being here. I try to be very open and available to the public. So like Derek asked me for my number, I give it to him. I've had the same cell phone since I was in 9th grade and in high school. So a lot of people got my cell phone number. So if you don't, call the office. We have an open door policy. If you think you bring something to the table, I would like to sit down with you. If you think you know something about a case that's unsolved, We want to talk to you. We want to get justice. So again, I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate Derek and all the other speakers, and I'll take a seat. Thank you.